Welcome. This video explains in-text citations in APA Style 7th edition. To learn how to format your sources in an APA references list, please watch the other videos in this series. Let's dive in. What exactly is an in-text citation? An in-text citation is a shortened version of a research source. Let's say you are using this book chapter as one of your sources. If you watch the other videos in this series, you know that this is the full entry for the source in your references list. Now, when you use information from this source in the body of your essay, you will not include the whole entry in the body. It would break up the flow of your paper. Instead, you need a shortened version of this source, or an in-text citation. This is the in-text citation for this source. It serves as an arrow or a clue pointing to the full entry in your references list. Your readers will know that if they want more information about this source, they should search your references list for something by Prestige and Jones that was published in 2008. Before you learn how to create an in-text citation, it's important to know when to include one. Anytime you quote, paraphrase, or summarize information from a source, you need to include an in-text citation. Put another way, anytime you use information from an outside source, it needs to be cited. The only information that does not need an in-text citation is common knowledge and your personal life experiences. Now that you know when to include an in-text citation, you can learn how to create them. The next few minutes of this video describe how to create in-text citations for paraphrases and summaries. That is, this is the format to follow when you are using someone else's ideas, but putting those ideas into your own words. If your source has one author, the format for the in-text citation is author's last name, comma, and the date of publication. This information goes inside parentheses. For this reason, in-text citations are also called parenthetical citations. Let's use this print book as an example source. The author's last name is Kralik, and the publication date is 2010. So, the in-text citation would be Kralik, comma, 2010. Note that the period that ends the sentence always comes after the last parenthesis of the in-text citation. The period goes at the very end to make it clear to your reader which sentence the in-text citation is paired with. But what do you do when your source has two authors? In that case, you use both of the author's last names, connected by an and sign, also known as an ampersand. Let's use this journal article as an example. You can see the author's last names and the publication date, so the in-text citation would be Emmons and McCullough, comma, 2003. That's not too bad. But what if your source has 3 or more authors? Journal articles often have more than 3 authors. In that case, you only list the first author's last name. Then you add 2 short words, et al. Et al is Latin for and others. Al is also an abbreviation, so you put a period after it. Next, continue as normal with the comma and the publication date. Let's use this journal article as an example. You can see there are 6 authors. The first one listed is Susanna Covey. So, the in-text citation would be Covey et al., comma, 2023. So far, we have looked at books and journal article sources. But what do you do with an internet source? Many internet sources do not have an author listed. If your source does not have an author listed, use a shortened version of the title. So that the title is not confused with someone's last name, the titles of books and reports are italicized. The titles of articles, chapters, and web pages are in quotation marks. Let's look at this web page from Psychology Today. We can see the content was reviewed by Psychology Today staff, but there is no author listed. In this case, we will use the title Gratitude inside quotation marks. However, this source also does not have a date of publication. For sources without publication dates, use the abbreviation N.D., which is short for no date. The in-text citation for this web page would be Gratitude inside quotation marks, followed by N.D. Sometimes, your source will not have a specific individual listed as an author, but you may be able to consider the organization as the author. In that case, simply put the organization's name where the author's last name would go. Let's look at this web page from the CDC. You could consider the CDC as the author. For your first in-text citation, you would write out Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, with CDC in brackets immediately after, followed by the comma, and then the date of publication, or N period D period. For all your citations after that, you could simply write the abbreviated form, CDC. With a source like this, it can be hard to tell whether it is a source with no author or a source with an organization as the author. It's best to check with your professors to see which format they prefer. Finally, it's important to understand how to create in-text citations for direct quotations. Direct quotations require extra information for your reader. You need to include either the page number or the paragraph number where the information is found. Let's go back to this web page from Psychology Today. If you want to include this quote, "Run deep in evolutionary history," you would need to point your reader to that quote. So after the publication date, which in this case is N period D period, you would add a comma and then para period 1. Para is short for paragraph. If your source has page numbers, use P period instead of para period. If your quote spans multiple pages or multiple paragraphs, use PP period for multiple pages and paras period for multiple paragraphs. Then, use a hyphen to indicate the page range. And those are the basics of in-text citations in APA Style 7th edition. Be sure to watch the other videos in this series.